Hello, I'm Graham Fitch, coming to you for Pianist Magazine from Steinway's in London, and I'm going to be talking about memorization today, or deep learning techniques. For me, memorization practice or memorization techniques, and I'll show you some, just the same as deep learning techniques. So if you use some of these ideas, you'll find that after a while, even if you decide to keep the score there when you play, because some people really do not like playing from memory, you'll be using the score as an anchor rather than staring at it and reading every single note. And this is where we're aiming to get to by the end of the video today. So I would like, first of all, to just point out the three different types of memory that we've all got. Muscle memory, motor memory if you want, the hand's ability to remember where to go without any thought. And this happens very easily with children, less easily as we get older, although it's still a very powerful memorized way of remembering. The other way that we memorize is by ear. So if you can hear the music, you can find it on the keyboard, which is why I'm a great fan of transposition, the practice of transposition and developing transposition skills, transposition by ear, I mean, but from reading. In the youngest of learners should be able to develop their ear by playing their little pieces. Imagine you've got this piece. What would that sound like in the key of C? What would it feel like in the key of E? And can be part of a beginner's, not a beginner, but an elementary lesson. So when we're memorizing a piece, I've got one expression that I like to tell my students: muscles last, because I'm using a technique that I wouldn't say I developed it, but I thought of the jargon for it. PPR, personalized pattern recognition. Because I think a lot of people get very scared at the thought of analysis. So I'm going to show you a little bit of PPR in relation to the Kuhlau Sonatina in C, the Opus 20, number 1, first movement. I want you to just imagine that you're about to learn this piece, and perhaps you've given it one or two read-throughs to the best of your ability. Now you want to start the learning. What would you do? Start with note number 1 and read like that? Or could there be something a little bit more sophisticated, where you start to use your powers of analysis, your powers of recognizing patterns? So if I would look at the right hand, I would notice, oh, that's just the triad of C major in its root position, isn't it? So I've already memorized that. Now I have 4 of those Gs in a row before another triad of C major. This time it's in its second inversion shape. Now let me see if I can play the tune. I promise you I'm not looking. Now here's my repeated Gs. And there's my triad again, with just a little interval of a second at the end. I notice my left hand is also based on the chord of C, but it's broken up in an Alberti bass. And just when we get to the end, the C chord moves to the 5/7 chord. Now let's say you don't know much theory and you don't want to be bothered with 5/7, what's that? You could simply notice the difference between this shape and this shape. The thumb stays the same and the other 2 notes have moved up 1. These 2 notes have moved here and the thumb has stayed on the G. So you could even play like this first. There's miming. And here's where the harmony changes. The next step would be to open up the left hand. You see how this works? Then I would go on and notice that that's kind of a big interval, and if I wanted to be more specific, I would say that it's a 6th. It's a major 6th from D to F. And then what happens? That's a major 3rd, sorry, a minor 3rd going up. So a sixth that falls down, a third that goes up. So I'm starting to notice all these things before I start to do all of the other types of practice that we use to embed the music into our muscle memory. I'm going to show you a little bit more sophisticated an example now. This is the Allemande from the B-flat partita of Bach. Again, a very popular piece, lots of people play it. So let me just play you the bit I'm going to look at, the very beginning. I'm just going to look at that opening. What do I notice first? I happen to notice first that the first note of each bar in the right hand goes up a step each time. Bar 3, bar 4, while the bass note stays the same on the B flat. Now that's very helpful to me because I've already memorized that. What else do I notice? Well, I notice that there's a little mordanty thing. It's written out by Bach. Everything else looks like chords broken up, except for this little mordant. We get it twice on the B flat, and then the next one is a step higher, and then a step higher. So I could probably now put together Can you see those two elements happening concurrently? The other thing I notice is that music on the way down goes in zigzags to its lowest point, whereas the music from the lowest point to the highest point goes up in a straight line. There's my mordant, and here's my broken chord. There's my straight line. There's my mordant, and here's my broken chord, zigzaggy chord, and here's my broken chord in a straight line. So I've got various mental hooks that I can use there as anchors for my memory. Now, to test the memory, because how do I know that that's not muscle memory? If I can play it with no muscles, let me show you what that may mean. I'm just playing with one finger, using my ear and the information that I gleaned, and so on. Do you see what I'm doing there? It's not muscle memory because I'm only using one finger. And if I really wanted to confuse myself, maybe I could just test it out by playing it with the other hand. There's my seventh. This is completely screwing up my muscle memory. Now, this is the sort of thing that concert pianists would do to shore up their memory, so that we have got very strong muscle memory, we've got very strong ear memory, and we've got very strong brain memory, which comes from the recognizing the patterns. I'm going to move to something a little bit different. And now for something completely different, as they say. The Dohnányi C major Rhapsody, which is a little bit more of an advanced piece, but it's quite a popular piece. It shows up quite a lot. And it has this rather pompous opening. It sounds like something very serious is going to happen. And then you get something very silly that comes immediately afterwards. You do get later on a really big tune. So it's worth learning. Some people think just for that big tune at the beginning, in the middle, but at the beginning. Let me go back to the beginning. If you look at the page, it's quite dense with information. How to find patterns? Well, the first thing I'm drawn to is the left hand. I notice that I've got if I just miss out the middle note for a moment, that's just a chromatic scale with something else in the middle. Let me look at what that middle note is. It's a major third away from the bass, effectively. Easy. I've memorized my left hand. Let me see if I can do my left. I promise I'm not looking. Before I've even started to really practice it, I've figured that out. Now the right hand goes from one octave to the next, and then back. If I look at that, let me just play the outer notes again. I'm deconstructing this score. It's all E's. I think I could probably put that together with my left hand. Now I need to figure out what's going on in the middle of the right hand. I'm beginning to see a pattern there. I'm teasing you a bit because of course I figured this out ahead of time. But it's a sort of discovery that you make yourself if you just look under the surface of the music. The middle element in the right hand is just a chromatic scale, and it's the same chromatic scale as the middle note of the left hand. That's quite something, isn't it? Now, if I didn't let the thing move around from one octave to the next, I would just have this. If I did it all in the same octave, do you see what I'm doing? I'm using my brain rather than my muscles to figure out the patterns. Now, when I want to develop my muscle memory, there's all sorts of things I can do. I can play the top line by itself. Whoops. I can play the middle line by itself. I do the same thing with my thumb, and I can put the top and the middle together. And then I can put the bottom and the middle together. All of these things going on simultaneously. So it's muscles last, but not very long after. The PPR and the learning happen pretty much at the same time, just a little bit ahead. I'm going to show you another example, this time from the Cacciatorian Toccata, which a lot of people love to play, and I'm thinking of the spot, the B section, which starts like this. Then something else. I'm going to show you how you can memorize that page in a few seconds using PPR, rather than just repeatedly reading through that for weeks and months until eventually you're able to play it. PPR, very simple. My right hand is playing all black notes, and it's the same black notes, and they happen to be a perfect fourth apart. So I've already memorized my right hand. Okay, my left hand, if I look at it just coldly, I've got a whole bunch of repeated C flats and then an A flat that kind of alternates with the C flat. I'm only going to play notes when they change. That seems to go with the G flat. The D flat goes with an F, and the D natural with an F flat. Are you seeing there a very obvious pattern? There's a fan out pattern. We want it to go there, don't we, to resolve. It doesn't do that. Let me test my memory now using two hands. One finger in each hand. I think I've now got that. Let me play my left hand, blocking out my right hand. I'm going to do it fast. The next pair of notes. The next pair, I think I need to be under here. and the next. Memorized. Now I have to put that together. See how that works? So that I can get my eye off the page very soon. I want to share with you one last example from this piece. If you've ever played this piece, get to bar 74. There's a whole array of sharps, flats and naturals. We've got 6 flats in the key signature. We've got naturals and sharps as accidentals. Now, if I show you this pattern, then it comes back to that. Now, I can teach somebody that from memory in just a minute or two. If I look at what the left hand's playing, the left hand's simply playing all the black notes in order. If I let my right thumb join together with that, I'm using the 3rd finger in my left hand. I'm just going to play the semitone, the next door note. Now I notice that this is actually just a triad, and it's always white notes in the right hand. I can put that together, build a triad in my right hand, put that together with my left hand, and just block that out. And then I can open it up. You need never look at the score again. But if you hadn't gone through that process, if you hadn't noticed that pattern, you could be struggling with that for weeks and still not really master it. Final thing, I want to just show you, I want to go back to this idea of transposition, because for me it's a vital skill and it's a great test of how well you know something. So let's say you've memorized a piece and there's one section that drives you bananas because it never really works. One thing you could try is to transpose it. I don't mean from reading it, but by ear. So I'm going to take the beginning of another well-known piece, the G minor Bagatelle from Beethoven, Opus 119. And so on. Now let me get myself into F minor. Just make a little cadence to get yourself in the new key. Now I'm going to see if I can do that in the key of F minor. Slower. Now I'm hearing every one of those intervals. Let me go to G sharp minor. I really had to think there. I have to concentrate. So you notice I slowed down a little bit. It's fine to do it very slowly. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing whole pieces like this, sections, just to really test out your memory. So I hope that's given you a few ideas that you'll find that you can immediately use in your own practice. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon.